Welcome to Beyond the Brink. This is the show that explores global events that are pushing people to their limits and driving them to the brink of change. I'm your host, Kristie, and I'm here with my amazing co host, Melissa.
Hi there.
How
How
are
are you?
you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Good to see you. Glad everything's going good.
Thanks.
So, we
Good to
have
see
an
you.
interesting show in store for you tonight. Kind of excited about this topic. But before we kick things off, let's hear from all of our awesome viewers out there, and we appreciate all of your support. If you're tuning in on YouTube or Rumble, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please like and share this video. It will help more people see it and get us more views, and we really appreciate that. You can catch up on all of our previous episodes by visiting our website, vitabroadcastnetwork.com, or your favorite podcast platform. Too many P's.
I know.
So you can search for us at the handle at Vita Broadcast. Now we're going to talk about the worldwide release of the documentary film Let My People Go by Dr. David Clements. Man,
Mm,
he is a brave man. I am just so proud of him and for everything that he's done for we the people. We the people is a coherent explanation. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think it encapsulates very well
it
uh,
does.
leading up to the 2020 election and the events that followed thereafter, J6, all of that. And it's a film you don't want to miss. I think everybody should see it. And that's why it's a worldwide release. It is free. You can go to rumble.com and just hit the search bar. It says Free My People. You'll see worldwide release on there. And send it to have it play it in your church wherever it is allowed to be played. Play it. It's very, very important information. So we're going to go and review that movie tonight, and so let's dive in, shall we?
Yeah. I wanted to add, we watched this movie separately. We don't know what each other's opinion or view is of the film. We were going to do it last week and we weren't able to. And Professor Clements, when I posted the original post on it, he says, "Oh, now I'm nervous," and I said, like, I'm nervous now too, just to even think that the person that created this would possibly be watching, our views on it. One thing I want to say for some of the folks that might be watching this, that have an open mind. There's so much division that's been spread, and a lot of times when we're taking in information that we don't really like to hear, or it doesn't resonate with us, we immediately want to shut it off. And I just ask that people kind of have an open mind, and kind of listen to this. We'll play a few little clips, but obviously we really want you to go and watch the film for yourself, and kind of try to separate your political views from the film, which I know is kind of a difficult thing to do sometimes. But yeah, I think we the people is all of us, right? It doesn't belong to any particular party. And unfortunately, some folks seem to label anybody saying we the people as some type of extremist, right? But we are the people. We are the ones that should be in control. And together we're stronger. And so I just wanted to get that off my chest, I guess.
Yeah, for me, when I saw this, I saw all of the information that Dr. Clements had, who put it into a coherent way of seeing it. Because as all of this information came out, it was, you know, this expert here, this expert there. We're going to have a forum. There's going to be, a three week expose. I mean, all of these things that were happening as all of this was unfolding over the last few years, especially the first couple of years, where a lot of this came out. A lot of it, well, back then it was all conspiracy theory,
Right.
not good, but you know, like most of the things that happened during this period in our history, most of it has come true. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And
what
the thing is that things take so much time to get to the bottom of, right?
right,
So there's a lot of things that I think muddied the waters with all of this, and that was by design by the folks that don't want you and I to give this any attention. They want us to just, think that everything was fine, and anybody that thinks something was wrong with, whether it was the lockdowns or the January 6th, the voting, all of those things, they want you to think that those of us that have questions are extremists. We're not. We're just folks that are questioning and going like, this doesn't reconcile with me. And just because some people might not have gotten to that stage of the race yet, doesn't mean that they won't. And so hopefully a film like this, provided that somebody is ready to absorb some kind of, this kind of information, hopefully this film will help get those folks to ask more questions. That's my
I hope so. I agree with you. Then there will be people who you can smack over the head with with a frying pan, and they
yeah,
will say that never happened.
right. Right. Yeah,
So, yeah. So you have a couple clips for us, right?
I do. So first thing I want to say, and I don't really want to play the very beginning, where there's cartoons. And since we are doing a movie review, I'm going to be brutally honest.
Well, you were
On
going
it.
where I was
Yeah.
going. Well, I don't
Uh,
think those cartoons are at the beginning. At the very beginning, I think is really good about outline what happened with Dr. Clements. It's
yeah.
like the
uh,
first 2 minutes.
yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. The very, very, very beginning. And then it goes into cartoons. So
Yeah,
let,
could you play the
let
first 2
me,
minutes? Yeah,
it's
that would be
fine.
great. I think it just will help tee things up.
Let's get this one. Yes, this is it. Um, all right. Hopefully we've got this. I'm going to play it
Here we
full
go.
screen. Okay. And we're off.
People Go was released to rave reviews on December 15th.
This film, and I say this as a filmmaker, when I screened it the other night with Lindell, it is magnificent. It is an epic, and people will be blown away.
Unfortunately, it quickly became the most censored film in the country. We experienced cancellation from our DVD packaging company. We also experienced cancellation from our credit card processing company, where they then seized all of the money that was raised for the film. In fact, the day before Christmas, my family received notice from the IRS for tens of thousands of dollars. Our live streaming of the film experienced distributed denial of service hacks throughout the launch. I never thought distributing a film about J6 prisoners and rigged elections would feel like running Bibles behind communist lines. Yet here we are. The only way this film will be seen is if we put it in your hands. Accordingly, Let My People Go is now free for anyone online. Just go to frankspeech.com, watch the stream for free, or upload your own digital copy. Share it, download it, screen capture it, we don't care. Do whatever you want with film. We just ask that you invite your community to watch it at a local church, theater, community center, and try to wake people up. While watching the film online is free, some of you might want physical copies. DVDs and Blu-ray disc are available for purchase on frankspeech.com. We are asking every conservative influencer, civics group to upload the film to their respective channels or circles of influence and saturate social media. We don't care who gets the views. We don't care if the film earns a penny. All we care about is getting the word out so we can get rid of the rigged machines and mail-in ballots before the most consequential election in history. So our vision is for Let My People Go to be the most pirated and bootlegged film in history. And this video gives you express permission to take the film and make it yours. The film was made by the people and for the people. Therefore, it makes sense that its impact and destiny be left up to you, the people. After watching the film, if so moved, go back to frankspeech.com and check out the plan to secure our elections going forward, and donate to the cause to save our country before it's too late.
Yeah,
Were you going into the next
That-
cut?
yeah, that's where it goes into the cartoons right after that. So
I
before
think that
we
was such a powerful statement that he made. I mean, you have to think just of all of the trash and just provocative movies that are out there. He gets canceled. All the revenues that were generated seized, receives a tax bill from what? From what? Gets canceled. Who's trying to silence who and why?
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point. Look at how much trash is really produced,
Right.
and yet they're able to produce their films. There's been plenty of controversial films made. I find it very interesting that they're going to go after this particular man and his film.
Well, look at all the ideologies that they're throwing down our throat now that we know happen to be mental illnesses and they're saying it needs to be it's normal. And then you can't have this discussion. I mean, it's like free speech ended here with
Yeah.
this film. Nope, you don't get to have that. But all of that other garbage that they want to ram down our throat and into our head is okay.
And I just want to remind people, this is not the first time that there's been questions regarding elections and
not at
whether
all.
something has been stolen. And there have been plenty of different films made in regards to election integrity that go way back. And so it is very interesting in this day and age that that they can do that, which you and I are crypto and cryptocurrency enthusiasts, digital asset space enthusiasts, Bitcoin, and this is another example. Look at how easy they were able to seize his funds through this credit card company where he was processing donations and that. Now, I don't know where that money went when it was seized, if it went back to the people that donated via the credit card company or whether they kept it, I don't know. But the fact that they were even able to do that and shut you down, and then also the DNS attacks that his website experienced, blockchain and all of the new technology, the new decentralized technology that's out there, they're working on that so that you don't have this intermediary that has so much control over what you're able to view and how you're able to spend your money or how you're able to earn your money or what you're raising money for. So I think that's an important thing to know as part of the hopeful side of this. And I think that we are in there's so many things going on at the same time. You have the transformation of the financial system, and you have this stuff going on. All of it's being worked on simultaneously. And to have someone like Professor Clements stand up for the rights of the people, he was a consumer protection lawyer for professor. That's what he taught.
Yeah, and
Consumer
he
protection.
numerous awards for his excellence in
Yes.
teaching.
I am going to try to get to that point that I wanted to play for us, that where he kind of explains. So I just want to say to folks, like, you're going to be, especially people that don't believe anything happened, just understand, like, put yourself in the position of this man, this one man who stood up against wearing a mask. This is where his journey begins, teaching consumer protection to a bunch of college students, and it's during the COVID time and mask requirements by the universities. And he looked at it, and by his legal opinion, what they were requiring was illegal, and didn't feel that it was backed by anything that actually gave them a false sense of security, this mask thing. And so I think it's real important to understand who Professor Clements is, and see what he went through, to really appreciate how brave he's actually been in his struggle. This is the human side of Professor Clements. So I am going to share that. Sharing. And came in a little early.
So there's a few cartoons in here. Oh,
What
okay.
made all of it possible?
I didn't realize I wasn't sharing it.
The eviction of God from the home, our schools, from our universities.
Pray and act to end the sin of abortion.
How are you?
And yes, even the church. Just as a person can choose whether the Holy Spirit will lead him, so a nation can choose.
And our country needs a savior right now, and our country has a savior. And that's not me. That's somebody much higher up than me.
Just as a person can choose darkness over the light, a nation can do the same.
President Trump claims the election was stolen. The assertions range from constitutional arguments to sweeping conspiracy theories.
They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
And I cannot now in good conscience object to the certification of these electors. The violence, the lawlessness, and siege of the halls of Congress.
And I was shaken to the core.
And the Oscar goes to...
Believe in God or not, what we have witnessed is the demonic come to life in America. Faustian deals negotiated, signed, and sealed by oath-swearing politicians.
If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in.
The president has put in place an organization that contains the kind of database that no one has ever seen before in life. And that database will have information about everything on every individual.
The devil has called for delivery on 1,000 bargains struck. pacts made with vanity-seeking celebrities.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
Chief Commander.
On this earth?
Then in a world we can't see.
When the nation evicts the Holy Spirit, something else will come to inhabit our institutions. The spirit of Baal or Mammon replaced our love of God with a love of money. The spirit of Ishtar dulled our sense of duty and virtue by replacing it with an addiction to pleasure and comfort. And once our morality was compromised and we became lazy to our plight, the spirit Moloch lurked in the shadows to slaughter the unborn and traffic the innocent. But one spirit in particular opened the door for the others, the spirit of fear. This didn't happen out of the blue. We've been tested and studied like lab rats for generations. The Marxist engineers of society knew full well the power of social conformity and peer pressure. Take the Ash Line experiment. A volunteer is told that he is taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he is the only person taking part in a real test, which is actually about group conformity. The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1. 1.
Two.
1.
In the second test, the correct answer is once again 2.
3. 3. 3. 3. 3.
The Ash experiment has been repeated many times, with the results supported again and again. Humans will conform even when we don't believe what other people are saying. Social engineering through fear could be seen in the lead up to the 2020 election over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes me so angry when I see that over
Yeah.
again, having lived through it.
I have to apologize because I started sharing way before I had my time wrong, but then I'm like, well, you know what? This kind of adds to the gist of what is kind of what is in the movie. One thing I guess back to the review part of it, it's tough for me knowing like many people out there, we have people of, different belief systems, different sides of the party and whatever. And I have found the minute that you put anything like any picture of Trump in front of someone, they immediately don't want to watch something. Like they just shut right down. Or if you put a picture of Obama in a negative light, they want to shut right down. Or something that they're, when it comes to the abortion issue and those things. And so there's a lot of visuals within that movie and in that very beginning of the film that might be really tough for some people to stomach, right? But it's a necessary thing for them to kind of watch so they can form their own opinion on the film. I mean, what do you think? It's kind of right out the gate. There's those type of images. And so if you're trying to get people to watch the movie that don't believe anything happened, what do you think about that?
I think if people don't think anything happened, we can't help them, but they will be the people when something does happen that when we do and God forbid we lose our freedoms, they will be the ones that are going to be needing a lot of help. They're going to need the helping hand of us who've been open-minded. Hey, I still want to see the details, but I've seen enough myself to have a lot of plausible concern about what has happened. It makes me look at my own governmental leaders in my own community and watch them like a hawk. And you can see when things are not right. And if you're just ignorant and turn a blind eye, you're just not gonna notice it. But when it happens, and you're gonna go, "How did they get away with that?" Well, doggone it, where were you? Where were you?
Yeah. And I do think that this really, so for those of you that are considering watching this, I hope that you do. The first part of the film does kind of set up, and it kind of goes in beyond that that little test. So they showed you the images, the different things that we've been absorbing, right? The people and the sayings, kind of getting us used to things. Showing that one clip of the young kid, they've been doing that for years with the power of suggestion, and you got, a handful of other people telling you it's something else. White is black and black is white or whatever, and you just kind of end up saying what everybody else is saying. It's kind of like go with the flow mentality. But he also shows that that test where that experiment where they're shocking somebody supposedly in another room, and how far somebody will take because the person conducting the experiment tells them to. So they can hear somebody in the other room in pain, but yet they're still going to take orders from the person that's going to pay them for this experiment. And so, I don't know about you, Kristie, but I remember growing up all of the movies about the Holocaust, and and we always say, like, I would never do that. How could that happen? Right? How could they were just following orders and that sort of thing. And this is how.
Well, yeah, and I think that experiment you were talking is the Milgram experiment.
Mhm.
But look in real time what was happening where we were. Hey, masks keep you safe. Everybody needs to wear a mask. Oh my gosh, don't get near me if you don't have a mask on. Oh my gosh. Or in some communities, if neighbors were reporting on neighbors if they left a neighborhood, for instance.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Just some 400 miles away from where I live in California, that is exactly what was happening because the community was locked down. Or, I mean, the absurdity of being an essential service. Is a liquor store an essential service?
Yeah.
And so those were open, but your mom and pop local corner store wasn't. Your big box Costco was okay. But in anything, it seems as though if there was any connection to some type of a corporate entity,
Mhm.
that would be casinos were able to be open
Oh, yeah.
of all
Where?
places. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, don't worry about all the smokers with all of this, COVID doesn't
Well,
move
no,
around in that,
it,
right?
it was funny because in one of the casinos, it was you could smoke a cigarette. You didn't have to have your mask on if you were smoking.
Right.
But as soon as you got done smoking, you had to make sure you had your mask up.
Oh,
And
and all the ridiculous shields. You go
yes,
to a restaurant, they have shields in between, the booths, and if
yes,
you're sitting at a counter, it's like you're
yes,
sitting in a little box, right?
yes.
Just
And
crazy
It-
stuff.
it- they were setting, and I will say again, it goes back to, because I think everything is tied together. It goes back to the financial system and the new technologies that they've developed. They used that time to experiment with certain things. Somebody just sent me something the other day that said in Canada now, in order to do some kind of governmental payments, you have to use a QR code. Well, when COVID came out, any restaurants that were open, they didn't have menus. You had to scan the QR codes. whether they never had it before, but everything kind of started going that direction, kind of prepping everybody to go in that direction. And then they also did other things like all those times where you walked in and they were scanning your forehead, like with like a it was just like a
Temperature scanner.
machine. Yeah. But they had the ones that where they shot you here, but like the casino again, when we went to a casino, there was a machine that you just walked up into, and I kept telling Ryan, they're taking our picture. No, they're not. No, they're not. And one day we were checking into the hotel, and I just nonchalantly said, how many pictures a day does this thing take? And she's like, oh my God, so many. And I said, I told you, this is not just a thing. And of course, those are all gone now. So what were they doing? Testing them out?
No doubt.
So all of these things were being used to control us and to see,
well, they did it
how
by
much
fear.
would we control. They did.
Yeah.
And
did
they
it
scared
by
the
fear.
crap out of a lot of people, which
They
really
did.
sucks.
And they did it from the top down through authorities. So like through the CDC, it's like, well, this trusted organization, it used to be anyway, the CDC says, you need to wear these masks and you need to social distance. And it just defied the logic. We're being told it's a virus, a novel virus. So a lot of people are going to get sick from it because nobody's ever had any immunity to it. But we all know that just intuitively, these devices can't stop a little itty bitty micro organism that you cannot see. I mean, you can't even see a no-see-ums, right? And they bite you, right? But you can't mask them away. Yet we've been masking, and there were bubble suits, hazmat suits, elderly people that had to die in a hospital alone, or not even getting any care. It was just crazy. And if people can't relate to what was going on there, I just don't get it. Because I look back on that and I'm going, that was one of the most horrific crimes of our time that were perpetrated against society. And I certainly hope we have some Nuremberg style trials to bring every one of these people and organizations to justice for what happened.
Yeah, I
Just
agree.
not right. But I love what Dr. Clements did here of, well, being so brave to start with. I mean, he had a great career. He wasn't some fringe professor. I mean, he was a respectable law professor. He had practiced law, and then he became an associate professor and taught law. And he happened to be a very well-liked professor. I mean, I think you understand this probably better than most, Melissa, is that if you don't have a well-liked professor, that has a tendency to not go well for how long that professor is going to be around.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
I
And here he's getting excellence awards and all of that. Then all of a sudden, because he stands up and he tells his students about the rights that they have. And here in my classroom, I am not going to wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask either. And this is the reason why.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no proof for any reason why these things do not protect you in any way.
So I will say this. So we're 20 minutes into the movie. Okay. I'm gonna play another clip from the movie, but I have to say, 20 minutes into the movie, I personally was a little bit uncomfortable because not for myself, but for if I say, hey, Aunt so-and-so, or, blah, 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 watch this movie. I know that first 20 minutes is going to ruffle some feathers, right? It's going to aggravate them. And so I was like, oh man, I wish they wouldn't have started right out the gate with that, because it's going to turn away people that I know that I really think need to watch it. And then we got into this area, and then of course I'm crying, Kristie. I'm crying because it breaks my heart what this man's gone through. And so I would like to share that with our audience, if you don't mind. This will be a couple minutes, and this is kind of getting to know who Professor Clements is, and why he was terminated, and how this all started out for him.
My name is David. Suffice it to say, there was a time I had a classroom and could teach students to discern truth from lies. But in the wake of an experimental jab, teaching students about the dangers of big pharma and holding the government accountable was now forbidden.
He must get vaccinated or get tested weekly and wear a mask in the classroom.
As you can see, I am not wearing a mask. Why is that?
Because you're 6 feet away?
No, because I haven't lost my mind. That's why.
He has openly and notoriously and continuously undermined those policies.
Your rules and regulations have an effect on the legal environment. I teach consumer protection.
The first class of the semester.
The first class was consumer protection.
No, the first class
that I talked about had something to do with consumer protection. That's right.
It was the first class of the course for the semester.
Yes.
I posted my syllabi. I asked my students to review it before showing up to class. And then we started. And there was no greater teaching example on consumer protection than to talk about policies that are designed to scare the hell out of our students and deceive them about their safety if they put on a mask. That's a deceptive practice, and it violates federal law because we're telling our students that somehow their risk is mitigated by putting on that mask, and that is not true. What culpability or responsibility does this university bear for that? So yes, you may have a rule or regulation that says, Professor Clements, you can put a gun to that person's head and shoot them. And if you don't want to, you can leave. History's going to judge us. And I guarantee you, it's not going to judge you all kindly.
You are.
That they were so mad at him, you could tell they were.
Oh, look at the looks on their face. They're just so outraged by him exercising his constitutional rights.
Well, not even that. Not even the constitutional rights is him actually saying, "Listen here, I teach constitutional or consumer protection. The class was consumer protection." And I don't know if it went as far, if I continue to play it, where they were saying, they were asking like what class it was, and him saying like, I'm not going to require this and teach them about something that I know is against the law, that it's illegal. Did that play that in that clip where he actually tells them what you're doing is illegal?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. No, it wasn't in that part. Yeah.
So I could play a couple minutes more of this little area, and then I know we're getting short on time here, and you have some points that you want to go over, like the rest of the movie, what it really is covering, because there's a lot to it. But I just really want people to know who Dr. Clement is, and that, this is not just some radical guy who decided to get on his high horse and start rallying the troops and, freedom and all this stuff. He wasn't that kind of guy. He is a lawyer, a professor, a father, a husband. This is a guy who he didn't come from much. He worked his way up. He worked his ass off.
Yeah.
And he got respect, and they took it all away from him. They tried to. They're not taking it away from him because we're not allowing them to take it away from him. But, and this could happen to any one of us. So I just want to tell people, look, you might not exactly agree with his position, but believe me, the shoe could be on the other foot at any time, and something that you really stand up and believe in. And if somebody is in power that has the authority to take that away from you, they will. So be very careful what you're rooting for here, or rooting against, or whatever. God, I
No
got a little
kidding.
fired up. I got a little fired up. Sorry.
Well,
Just
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, do you I know we don't have we only got like 16 minutes left.
We got a little bit more time. We can go over a little bit.
So I'm just gonna continue on this little clip as far as I can remember, where I started getting a little teary-eyed, and I kind of wanted to play that for the folks because I'm hoping to snag them, Kristie. I'm hoping to snag them. So let's see here.
Calm, and you're reasonable, and you're articulate. They have to pull you off the stage. They absolutely have to.
And the day after receiving the most prestigious award my college has to offer, I was suspended.
They photoshopped me out.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Look at, you can see the paper.
That used to be your face.
Yep.
2 months later, I was terminated. Now unemployed, political operatives set their sights on stripping me of my law license for merely commenting about the November 3rd election.
As a prosecutor, do you think there's enough information you've seen out there that we could actually, if we had serious prosecutors, we could start prosecuting crimes about the 2020 election?
In a word, yes. And this is coming from someone who's helped secure 8 first-degree murder convictions, helped take down a drug trafficking organization. I've maintained this for the past 2 years. I've never examined this much evidence about anything. So my critics jeer, "Mr. Unemployed Professor, go and practice the law." Complaint after complaint was filed to strip me of my license. 5 complaints, 5 investigations. All this for refusing a jab that hurts, maims, and kills more than it helps.
I don't mean to brag. I don't care, but I want you to know, double vaxxed booster. Clearly, Jesus loves me the most. Seriously. So nice. So nice.
All this for refusing the narrative over a clearly rigged 2020 election. So why continue the path I'm on? Because the truth is the truth. And when you see it, you can't unsee it. Welcome to my neighborhood. I'm a trailer park kid that came from nothing, got his doctorate, and did some special things. I'm a gray-haired punk rocker that used to play in dive bars until the government said I couldn't. We live a simple life. I'd like to get back to it.
This window is down, not because I want it to be, but I've got an electrical short someplace. This is on the to-do list. We've got a lot of work that we'd like to get to with a lavish swimming pool. Only the best stainless steel appliances. Sometimes you gotta make things match what you got there.
I'm a husband to a bride I adore. A father to beautiful children who, in the midst of so much uncertainty created by their father, still haven't lost their spark, their joy. I'm a sinner saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, the King. Since January 6th, all 3 of my children sleep together in our room on a pile of mattresses. As I travel, They keep watch over one another. We say our nightly prayers. I wake up 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, stepping over bodies. These are the 3 that are in rotation right now that many people see me wear. This one I had to retire just recently because a hole needs to get elbow patches. That's another thing that we're gonna have to fix. Court, like we're gonna. So I interview experts, attorneys, fact witnesses, victims, wherever I can find them out of my garage.
New Mexico.
I partner with my wife to oversee canvasses and audits.
A lot of investigation into our 2020 election. We found a lot of anomalies.
We investigate, report, help write articles, and shout from the rooftops about the stolen election wherever we can, and plead with those that are free to support those that are not. Over 200 evidentiary presentations in 47 states. Add up the number of podcasts, interviews, radio shows, phone calls, and consultations over the last 3 years, and the number easily exceeds 1,000. I've spoken to Alaskan natives, New Yorkers in Times Square.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Professor David Clements here at the Trump Tower.
Spoken to packed auditoriums and rooms with as few as 6 people, where half the elderly audience fell asleep during my presentation. I've slept in places where my legs were an hour behind my head. And I find myself in a paradox of sorts. Every day, I wake up absolutely convinced we, the people, are going to win our country back.
I believe that too.
I cried again while watching that. I cried again. I'm like back here bawling like a little baby. And I'm
Takes
like,
a lot of bravery to do what he's done. And I'm just so grateful to him because he's primarily, he was one of the people that I followed early on when all of this started to happen with him. And he said, enough, I'm going to go. I need to do more. And that's pretty much what he says at the end of the film, especially is that, you know, what can you do? We all need to do more to bring attention to this. What can we do more of in our life to bring attention to how our freedoms are being robbed? And look at the way in which they tried to do that in the 2020 election.
Yeah.
And it started before that. When Trump came down that escalator, it started then because he was a threat, and the whole propaganda machine started then, and they had to cook up something. They had to cook up something towards the end. And unfortunately, it was COVID. A lot of people got killed in the process. I mean, people were murdered from that vaccine, well, let me back up. From the virus that was unleashed. The murderers are the ones that did the gain of function on it to even create such a thing, and very dangerous. And then to go ahead and try to remove a man who was actually doing good for our country, was getting a little too close to things, I think, and just had to find a way to make sure the election did not go in his favor.
it's very
Then
interesting.
the people who, we the people who wanted to go support probably one of the greatest presidents of all time. You don't have to like his personality. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about policies. Okay, you have to ask yourself, were you better off 4 years ago than you are now? I know that my rolls of toilet paper were a lot bigger 4 years ago. I know that my the coffee that I buy was in a bigger container 4 years ago. I know
Everything
that
was.
the eggs that I buy were at least 60% less than what I'm paying for them now. I mean, everything, gasoline. Oh my gosh, gasoline. I live in a state where it's nearly $7 a gallon again. I mean, are you actually better now than you were before? Look at all this craziness of of our border situation. You mean to tell me this administration can't seem to get a handle on it when we've been dealing with it for years? And in 2016 to 2020, it was the lowest amount of people crossing our border. I guess maybe because we were able to demonstrate that we can do something about it. And now we can't. I mean, this is just how I just don't get how people can't see what is going on. I mean, the 2020 election, I mean, we're going to have another election here at the end of the year in November. And if we don't get a handle on what's happening, this will probably be the last election that we will have. We want this to be a free election, but doing it with electronic poll books, and they're so insecure, electronic poll books. Do you know how these poll books work? I don't know about in your state, but the state I live in, you get an automatic registration as soon as you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. And there are other ways that you can register too. But let's just use the DMV, for instance. You get in the DMV and you fill out your application one particular way. And then what if you have to go back on the website and access this again? Most people don't get an account when they first get on that website, for instance. Then you have to set up an account and you go, oh my gosh, how did I put my name? Did I do my full middle name, that type of thing? So you could put in another name into the system. And every one of these names going in are getting into a poll book. You can have 5 iterations of your name into this poll book. The people who have passed away, and that death certificate that you pay for, it's supposed to clean the voter rolls. No, I could tell you personally, my father was getting called for jury duty. Okay, how do you get called for jury duty? Is to be on the voter roll?
Yeah.
Okay. He was getting called for jury duty 10 months after he passed away. But the day that he passed away, pension shut off, everything else shut off. Doggone it, they were able to take care of that. But they can't take his name off the poll book?
Interesting.
Yeah. So you have to look around to see that, these things just don't make sense. You just can't brush it off that that our government isn't working for us. It is not working for us by design. There are more government employees working for the government than I believe in the private sector. We have more than enough help in government, but we can't seem to get the
We need
services.
government, not more government. That's for sure.
Right. The other thing that was going on is how can we verify the integrity of the ballots? You take a look at what was going on in Arizona, and they weren't using the proper paper. There was a reason why the paper was proprietary. They weren't using the proper paper. It wasn't the right size. I mean, you saw, I think it was supposed to be 19 pixels or whatever. I'm not sure if it's not 19 inches. Could be.
A lot, like the weight of the paper.
Yeah,
probably.
it could be the weight of the paper and actually the size too, because some of those ballots didn't measure up the same size as the official ones are supposed to be. So if you don't have that taken care of right then and there, and then you have these marker pens. For some reason, you're not allowed, you just can't use a blue ballpoint pen or a black ballpoint pen anymore. No, they had these special markers where they bled through the paper.
Yes.
And it was affecting the
Everywhere.
machine. And this happens here locally, by the way. Those markers.
It happened here.
Yeah, those ballots get rejected. They get kicked out so that they have to remake the ballot. And it's like, wow. Oh,
And
and then
think about this with that one simple little detail, the black
right,
marker, because
right.
I actually questioned the black markers when I went to vote, because I had heard things about black marker, and only thing that they provided were black markers. Okay, so you have to realize that the people that are at the at the ballot box, those are all volunteers, right? They're all there. You volunteer to do something, they tell you this is what it is, right? You go in, you get your instructions, this is what you're going to do, these are the supplies that are you're going to be handing out and letting people use. They told them this is what we use, these black markers. The actual poll worker doesn't really know, or some of them might have known, but I would be willing to bet that a lot of them didn't know. And what you're saying is, by using a black marker and it bleeding through the paper caused an error when you fed it into the machine, which then that is a ballot that could then be reproduced, right? Or when they say fixed, corrected, because it would get rejected or whatever. So I mean, otherwise, why the hell would you have everybody using black markers when they bleed through the freaking paper? And even that
Maybe
doesn't
because they
that doesn't
wanted
even
them
make
to.
comments. Exactly. But if you try to
There you
tell anybody that, they say, no, they told us, that's bullshit, No, it's not bullshit. Look at a piece of paper, put it on, look at your ballot and look at the freaking black on the other side. And you think, and you run that through the Scantron,
Well, you said common sense. Okay, and
Right.
I'm thinking critical thinking skills, which none of this applies when somebody goes, "Well, I was told."
Right.
It seems as though people blindly have this blind trust, but yet those that they're most closest to, they'll tell them to go F off because they don't believe a word that they say, but they'll take the word from, some self defined authority.
Yeah.
Then I mean, I think the ballot integrity thing speaks for itself. Then you had algorithm manipulation. We were told these machines were not connected to the internet, but they had USB ports. They had backdoor utilities. And I know, I'm going to talk personally from what I know. I I had toured our election facility, and and I know a little bit about networks, right? Network administration. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, gosh, I see Ethernet cables connected to these machines. And
Right.
I'm kind of watching and I'm looking where the cable goes. And it goes up to this office, one office
Mm.
that's completely locked down, has computers in there. And I'm going, what's that about? And they go, "Oh, well, this is for our intranet." And I go, "What happens to the data once it gets up to your intranet computer?
Right.
How's it get? Oh, we transmit it securely to Sacramento. Oh, so it's on the internet.
Right.
But you want to tell me some crap, and hopefully I believe that it's not connected to the internet because you told me. But I know what I'm seeing, and if you know a little bit about how all of that works, then you know you just were told a bunch of bullshit. And maybe they don't even know because they were told that, so they're just parroting what they're being told.
Yeah. I mean, all of these machines are proprietary, right? I mean, that's the first
Oh, yeah.
like raised to alarm for me. You are it just if let's just say they were honest, these particular, let's pretend like they were like a standard upstanding company and everything, okay? And there's not, what if the next company isn't? That's where
True.
I always try to say, it's like, it doesn't matter what side you're on of anything. Think about the actual issue and put the shoe on the other foot, because you're trusting a company that makes these and all of the guts within it, that there's going to be no compromise within this. And if you think for 1 second that that's not possible, you're kind of being silly. Like, oh, put on your thinking cap, expand your thinking a little bit. Let the right left bullshit pass you by. Get rid of it. It has no place here. And think with your minds and say, could that be a possibility? Are you afraid that somebody can log into your account on your bank account or get into your phone or whatever? Yeah, you are. You think, there's a possibility. What the hell makes you think that there's no possibility
Yeah.
that they could have done that with our voting machines?
Or fish
I
you
mean,
on your computer. Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. That's the only thing. I'm just like, holy smokes, guys.
That's huge. The other thing is the centralized control. I mean, when you mention about proprietary thing, when you're dealing with public policy and the public request to look at records, for instance, it is if you have nothing to hide, good policy is to show the records. Okay? When you are fighting showing records that affect the public, and especially if the public is paying for whatever services, they have the right to have that oversight. They have
Yes.
every right to ask for the records.
Yes,
And
they
if
do.
they're not going to be shown, not going to be shown, and they go to court, they sue, all of these things to not show records. There's something wrong there. Why is that? That's definitely not good policy. And
No.
then the centralized nature of these computers. I mean, I think that there's enough evidence that shows that transmissions, data transmissions here in the United States was sent overseas to be routed to a centralized, a clearinghouse, if you will,
Mhm.
and sent back. So what is our data doing out of the country in the first place? It
Was
shouldn't be going. It shouldn't even be transmitted like that.
Wasn't it like Pakistan or what that they had servers that they
Well, I think it was
found?
in Italy.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Italy, yeah, and I'm sure that they had hops along the way. I don't know exactly what countries specifically, but here's the whole idea of, I mean, we both made it very clear that we're in the cryptocurrency space and we understand how that work. And one thing that we just don't like is centralization.
Yeah.
What we love about Bitcoin, for instance, it is decentralized. Okay. And the reason for decentralization, it's about, sovereignty. It's about freedom. It's about not having centralized control. You look at our Federal Reserve, for instance. I mean, you can't ever go audit the Fed. You can't even go to the Fed and go cash a check, right?
Right.
You can't do any of that. So when your election systems are centralized, really the best way that should be and the most efficient way is to decentralize the process and count by precincts. Wherever you go and vote, they used to have these nice set up systems within your own neighborhood. And I think back, I'm going, gosh, this precinct thing has been eroding very slowly. Because I remember, gosh, in my early, 18, as soon as I was able to vote, I would just go to a house in the neighborhood where there was a polling place. Everything was within like a walking distance, and that polling place had only so many ballots that they were going to have to deal with, and they gather them, sort them, and they count them up there, and they get a precinct number, right? And then you had to sign the poll book, and you had to show an ID.
Yep.
So, and it was like that in every precinct. And then once they get to a central, they bring everything to an election center. That's when everything can be audited and double checked for accuracy. I mean, it's just crazy that this centralized system it just does not work at all. And anybody that thinks that it does, have you ever tried it? Have you ever had a problem getting a prescription, for instance?
Yeah.
That's centralized. And how it does happen. For some reason, something gets messed up in the system, or I don't know, the system says you're not supposed to have this because of whatever reason, the way the prescription was written or whatever the case. You're done. There is no way to check it out. But you're going to sit and maybe suffer some consequences from not getting that medication, but because of some centralized issue. And maybe that clearinghouse, that computer system that's reading the data and sending it back to the filling pharmacy is in another time zone, maybe another country, and you can't get a hold of them for, I don't know, if it's on a Friday, maybe 72 hours, right?
Yeah.
Before you get anything back, maybe.
Yeah.
That's just one thing. I mean, there's so many ways where this centralized control just gets out of hand. But those are the primary problems. We need to be able to take control. I firmly, from seeing what I've seen on this, I don't know if you agree, but hand counting is the best way to go. It has always been efficient, and when you do it by the precinct level, you can handle millions of people's votes. Of all the people that voted in this country, I mean, we have what, 300, well, supposed to have 340 million people here. I think we have a lot more undocumented, but those who voted is probably about half of that. So you're figuring what, 175, 180,000, 180 million people in all precincts around the country easily get it done. Easy.
I have a question though, because, well, a concern really. It's been so long, really. Like, how long have we been using these machines? I know I've voted on them many times. My concern is the preparation for hand counting votes. So,
Oh, it's so easy to do it again.
What I don't know is, are they prepping for that? Like, is it standard procedure? I mean, it would make common sense that you would have a backup procedure in the event that your machines go down, right? Because it's vote day. It's that day that you vote. So you should always have a backup plan, which I
Good
presume
point.
would be hand counting ballots.
Say it's not so.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm wondering, like, hey guys, we got to go old school because XYZ. I know there's a lot of people that are like, I don't know, that we might not even have an election, because of if they find, more and more of the stuff comes out. And I'm like, I don't really know if that is. I'm just thinking, like you said, if it's so easy to be able to do the hand counting, and then of course, I mean, that's the thing that I followed all this voting stuff. I watched the videos. I saw with my own eyes, and I'm like, I just don't understand how someone could watch what I saw and not think that there's something wrong here. Or I was in on the Michigan calls and listening, before they were going to verify or validate the vote, and people were calling in and stuff. And I mean, I just learned a lot more about our own voting system than I knew before. And I'm just like, this is a hot mess.
It is
And
a
if
hot mess.
anything, I mean, people should want it to get fixed, because like I said, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. If they can do it to this side, it can be done to the other side, and has been. Okay. This has been going on for a long time, and we have the illusion that we have a free and fair election, and but I really think that's not the case. I think
Do
we've
you
been bamboozled.
do you think people honestly think that we have a free and fair election, or do they feel as though their vote doesn't matter anyway, so they don't really care
A lot of
about the
people don't
system
give a
that we
shit
have?
anymore. A lot of people don't give a shit anymore.
And
There's
I
so many
wonder
people
why
that I
that
talk.
is.
Yeah, a lot of people that I talk to, they're just like, I ain't even voting. That's just stupid. They're all, and I believe, I kind of agree too. This is one thing that I will say about this whole subject, and where it comes, with like I said, the left and the right thing, it drives me mad. I don't like it at all. I don't like someone labeling me.
Right.
I have my own mind. I have my
You
own view.
radical, you.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh,
Fanatic.
I could agree with both sides at the same time, and I must be a terrible person. But it frustrates me because people are allowing that left-right divide to monopolize their thoughts and not think critically and not and logically about what needs to be done. And that's by design. They want they want people to be confused and angry and fighting against each other, because as much as we do that, they continue to get away with the BS that they've been getting away with. And here you have, back to Professor Clemens and doing this movie, you know, this is a scrappy kid from a trailer park. And when he said it, you know, he's a trailer park kid. I'm a welfare kid. Okay. I do think someone that comes up from lesser means, okay, that struggles, sometimes they might have a little bit more guts, because they've seen the other side. Whereas, you know, somebody, I mean, that's just what I guess that resonated with me. Because I mean, if I was to lose everything tomorrow, I already was poor. You know what I mean? I know what it's like to be poor. If you've never been poor and you've always been controlled by money and people, you're not I'm not saying everybody, but you're not as you might be a little bit more hesitant to make a change and to stand up. And so I really respect him. And I'm cheering him on. I hope that more people watch this movie and spread it around. He said, you know, in the beginning of the film, you know, we could play it on Vita. We could download it and play it on Vita if we wanted to, or anywhere we wanted to play it. They're wanting people to share this around. And I just really hope that people take the time to just watch the movie. Just give it a chance. You know, if you got to drink a beer when you're watching it or eat a donut or whatever you're, you know, for your nerves, but just give the guy a chance and watch the film. That's what.
He made a couple of other good points, but I wanted to say something to your point there. Look at how many people who knew what was wrong, especially in the healthcare field. Okay, they didn't want to wear masks themselves. They didn't want to be force vaccinated. They lost their freedom of choice. The informed consent really was out the window. And those who took the risk to give informed consent were basically not recommending it. But then you still had those people and say, well, I got to feed my family.
Yep.
I need to go. I need a job. And that's the fortitude that is needed, you know, like you're saying, to take the risk because you know what it was like to have less, right? But do you really know what it's like to not have your freedom? I mean, that's a decision. And I can't speak to that. I don't know, but it scares the hell out of me to think that I may not be able to leave my home when I want to, or I may not be able to buy the foods that I want to eat or eat the way that I like to eat, and have those freedoms and choices, be subject to being forced to take medications that I don't want. I mean, that is a very realistic situation with people who cannot take any interest in what this topic is all about and what it really means. You think it's just a simple vote. My vote doesn't count. Well, your vote does count if you want to make it count. It's really important. You know, he also, another issue that came up, he talked about national repentance. And I think I can agree with this, where he talks about a need for national repentance and action from the church in response to the current state of the country and the importance of taking responsibility and participating in self-governance. The churches were even participating in shutting down, telling on their own parishioners, for those who were not mask wearers or didn't have a vaccine, they were asking for vaccine cards. Okay. Fortunately, my church got shut down, but they still said, you know what? We're going to have church in the parking lot. We're still doing this thing. And they did it. They were very brave. But I'd like to see them be a little bit more brave, because I understand that with some of the churches, because they're nonprofits, that is one way to attack the church, is to get through to their nonprofit status.
Well, it's a way
And
to
so
control
they
the
even
church.
have fear.
It's to
Yes.
control. That's why.
So,
And actually, I have a friend who is like very against the nonprofit. she always speaks about it, and wanting them not to go that route because of that reason, because there is that element of control when you are signing, you're adhering to being within whatever the rules and regulations are for a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yeah. And it's just when you see some of the things that are going on in society and to have the church support that, it's just like the church needs to be reeled in too. So then you're even having like faith against faith.
Yeah. But
It's
you know
really
what?
sad.
But you know what though? Here's what I really do believe, that we can manifest our own reality and what we
Sure.
want to see have happen, right? And so I guess I would say, if you're in a church that is doing something like that, then you don't go to that church.
Just leave.
And
Yeah.
just leave. And you create the circle, your circle, the people around you that are like-minded, and you start building the bridges to the other circles of people that are like-minded, and you create this great big network, which is what I think Professor Clements is trying to do with this movie, and by going around and talking to all these people and inspiring people to get involved. Some of us are not going to get involved directly at the local level, which is what's really needed. Others of us are going to be, talking about it on YouTube, and, but I mean, yeah, you're a perfect example of someone getting involved at the local level, because if anything, to like say, look, and I'm seeing this crap with my own eyes, what is happening, and how easy it is for just the average person to make a difference in their local government. I mean, you could speak to that all day long.
Oh, and you know what? And the attacks that you take for speaking up against abuse of power by speaking the truth. I mean, even in a local level, there are the goon squad that's going to come and try to slap you down, diminish you, demean you, try to get you to silence you, mock you. I mean, it's just it it's tough. It's tough. It'd be so easy to just say, I'm not going to deal with this. But
Yeah.
if you don't deal with it, these people get very, very powerful. And you don't know what kind of things that they're involved with, where you might run into it head on at some point in time in your life. And you might as well just shut it down. Happens at our school districts, our little itty bitty school boards. You can make a lot of difference at a local level. Mike Flynn was saying that local change has national impact, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So Professor Clements asked to stand for truth, and do a little bit more than what you are already doing. If you can give just an inch more of what you're doing already. And if you're doing nothing, starting off with an inch is a great way to start.
Yeah.
Go out and start observing. Attend some of these school board meetings. I don't care if you're retired or not. Go see
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Go to your city council meetings. Go to your board of supervisors meetings. It's an interesting thing to watch. Very boring, but you will catch some nuggets there, and sometimes it's very exciting to see what's going on.
And going and asking questions is a really great way to contribute to
good
this,
question.
because any question that you raise, you spark that conversation, and actually you can learn a lot by asking a question by the response you get.
If you're even allowed to ask. They're playing games with how you can even speak now.
Yeah.
At a
I mean,
local level.
that's telling right there. I mean, I guess that speaks louder than answering the question by prohibiting you from asking questions, which is, even more concerning. And some people get really pissed off when they get shut down. Like, I could see some people that I know that go to do that just because they want to prove me wrong, and then have them get shut down, and then I'll be like, okay, you're going to shut me up. Well, now you've pissed me off. Right. And I think that's the kind of chain reaction that can happen by people getting involved in little tiny baby ways.
And just a hint on that, you always want to have, be respectful, be measured. If you watch Professor Clements, you never saw him going doing outrageous things. He was calm and just speaking his truth and not demeaning anybody else, name calling, threatening, anything like that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be taken much more seriously if you do that. If you come in there and I'm going to kick you out, I'm going to do everything I can get
Right.
you to not be elected again, you're not going to be taken seriously.
Well, and that's one thing I do want to say again about this movie. Give this man a chance and this movie a chance, because you and I both know, I've followed this for a long time. I've seen it happen. There are a lot of provocateur type agents, people that are intentionally over the top to represent one side or the other. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
Right.
But they're and you can see them plain as day. It's almost like they're playing a character on TV. And they almost always have really weird hairdos and big glasses and boisterous, things, and they're swearing, and they've got the facial expressions and everything. And it's like, I see through that bullshit so easily, but they take people down those roads to now associate someone like Mr. Clements with that, right? And that is what they do. That is how they've deceived us for so long, because there are so many of those people. There's paid people that are like that. And then there's the suckers that go along for the ride with those people that become, they're, I don't know, unwilling, like they don't know that they're parroting bullshit, right? Or they're helping to destroy a cause, really. They don't understand that that's what they're doing, right? So I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And I stay away.
You can hire a provocateur on the internet. They have organizations that do that. It's one-stop shopping. Look at what's going on with the universities today over the Palestine. So,
right? Yeah.
Okay, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, there are people who are participating in those protests who don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what the protest is about, but they're sheeping along and being a part of everybody else. And that's really a shame. And that's just, I think that's one of the biggest messages that come out of this film, is that you got to watch your own behavior. Look for that that line. Okay, match those lines up. If you're asked for, like in that example at the beginning of the film, and that young man was going, well, number 3 is the right answer, and others were choosing 1 or 2, and pick the right answer all the time. Okay. If it's the longest line and it's the longest line, pick that number. Okay. And so just do it. And then I think, and the last point on this, closing out the film, is that Dr. Clements just wants to go home. He doesn't want to be in this thing, but he feels
it breaks my
compelled
heart.
to be there. He wants to be left alone. He wants to live a quiet life, to be able to do honest work and go to church, read a book. And I certainly hope that he is vindicated and he gets his law license back, if that's what he chooses to do to practice law. He worked hard to get that. He earned it, and to have that just stripped away. You saw those complaints, 3 complaints within 1 month. 1 month. And didn't he just say he had just started practicing law again when that happened?
Yeah.
I mean, is that not a setup or what? So, one of the ways of getting somebody out of office or out of their position, file complaints against them and go after their bond. Yeah, that's how you get yourself debarred or disbarred, or maybe you can't be an accountant, or maybe even a public official. Enough complaints will do it.
Wow. Yeah. I also wanted to, unfortunately, I don't remember her name, but I just want to give a shout out to Professor Clements' wife. God bless her for for standing by him and being such a help, and getting in there herself and making a difference. And I think that's so important to have that kind of support system at home. And I wanted to acknowledge her as well, because this is something that she is involved in also. And so we thank her, and again, I encourage everybody to please watch the film.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else to add. You can find this film on rumble.com. Just put in the search, Free My People. You're going to see it. There's probably 4 options there to choose from. There's other iterations of it up there, and they're all the same film. So,
I put a link underneath, and I'll put a link
good.
in the description, but I put it on X. I put the link to the movie
Beautiful.
also.
But Professor Clements, we just thank you. We love you for what you are doing. You are a brave man, and you're an inspiration. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Thank you very much. Well, until next time, we thank everybody for joining us on Beyond the Brink, and we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
See you next time.
Have a good night.
Bye.